Today I will be showcasing my endgame build for Zeta, a character that can dominate the skies as she launches herself towards enemies, dealing tons of damage with infinite combos and following that up with a massive powerful finisher. She might just be the #1 character in terms of DPS in this game, and I very much like her playstyle, so I'm very excited to show you my build for her. I'll be going through all the skills, sigils, weapons and overall optimizations so that you can get the most out of this character and build. With that being said, hello everyone, my name is Dark Hero and welcome back to another build guide video. If you are enjoying these videos, let me know which character I should cover next, and with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So as I said before, I do believe that Zeta's DPS is incredibly high, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let me show you what this character can do. Her basic attack combo will look something like this, where at the final hit she will launch herself up into the air, and then when you are in the air you can follow it up by pressing the square button and you will dash into the enemy. The key mechanic with Zeta here, much like with Siegfried, is that you need to time it perfectly. As you can see, the light shines right there, you see a little bit of a sparkle. Each time that I dash towards the target dummy, you have to press the square button again to jump off and keep on spamming these jumping attacks. And you can do this for as long as you want. As long as you hit the perfect timing, you'll be able to keep on dealing damage like this non-stop. And this is the secret to Zeta's DPS really. You're able to non-stop attack, and thanks to some buffs and the build that you'll see later on, the amount of damage you can dish out this way is absolutely insane. And of course, once you are in the air, at any moment you can go ahead and press the triangle button, which will do a combo finisher. One thing to note is that if you do your combo finisher like this, after just jumping into the air once, it deals very little damage, so what you want to do is actually go into the air and nail the perfect timing 3 times, after which point you'll do the combo finisher, and as you saw, it deals a little bit more damage and it also applies a debuff to the enemy. This debuff is called Arvesformare, which I will from now on just refer to it as the Zeta debuff, and it is indicated by the icon below Sir Berold, and you can also spot those red particle effects around the monsters that are affected by this debuff. This debuff is very important because quite simply it's going to boost the damage that Zeta does whenever attacking monsters that are inflicted by it. And just in case you were curious, if you have multiple Zetas on the same team, if one of them applies the Zeta debuff on an enemy, all the other Zetas will be able to deal extra damage. So that's quite nice. That being said, Zeta's basic triangle button is called Rhapsody, where she puts the spear out, and as you can see, this is meant to be a parry, so let's go ahead and parry an attack, and just like that it launches you into the air while dealing some decent damage. Pretty cool stuff. Now the timing for this parry is very short. I do believe it is shorter than the timing to get a perfect parry on your basic guard, and certainly has less frames than your perfect dodge, so you need to be very careful about the timing for this parry, as it is one of the less forgiving ones. Now as for Zeta's skills, as you'll see, she gets a couple of them that lets her also jump off into the air to get started with the infinite aerial loop. So let's start with Spear of Arves, where quite simply you dash at an enemy, acting as a gap closer that deals damage and puts you into the air very quickly so you can do your aerial combos, like so. The other skill that launches Zeta into the air is going to be Realm's Mastery, where she parries an incoming attack, and as you'll see, it deals even more damage than the basic parry. It has a lot more iframes as well, you can have that parry out for a very long time, and it gets you into the air into doing the aerial attacks. Another benefit of Realm's Majesty is that it also applies the Zeta debuff, so you don't have to do a combo finisher after doing the aerial loop 3 times to be able to debuff an enemy. That being said, Zeta does have another skill that lets her apply her Zeta debuff, and that is Infinite Wonders, which is this ranged projectile that you can have multiple charges of. You can use this at very long distances, allowing Zeta to also work in long-range distance combat, so whenever you fight against enemies that stay in the air for a long time or you have a hard time reaching, you can simply throw that out and you'll also apply the debuff. Additionally, another offensive skill that Zeta has that provides some very good utility is going to be Wing Clipper, where she does this pretty fast combo, and at the very end she ends up paralyzing the enemies. Paralysis has to be by far one of the very best debuffs in the entire game, as you'll be able to stop the enemy from whatever they're doing. Oftentimes you'll do this in overdrive to stop the enemies from doing one of their big hostility attacks, so you just have a bigger window to keep on dealing damage, and because very often you'll reach the damage cap even without having any sort of defense down debuffs, I really do believe that having paralysis is incredibly useful, especially against some of the endgame monsters that you'll be facing off against, such as Proto Bahamut, where if you are able to paralyze them, you'll have a chance to deal extra damage, and that is going to be very valuable in the long run. Zeta's next offensive skill is going to be Rain of Fury, where she summons these ranged projectiles, and as these spears rain down on enemies, they also inflict them with attack down, so it is a pretty nice debuff to have that provides some party-wide utility, although the debuff does not last for a very long while. That being said, because it is a ranged debuff, you're able to very often cast this whenever you see that a monster is about to do a very powerful attack that one-shots, so you can use this to protect yourself or even some of your allies from taking lethal damage. Zeta's final offensive skill is going to be 1,000 Flames, that you can freely aim or you can lock onto enemies like that, where she summons a huge fire explosion that deals a ton of damage and will also leave the enemies burning. So this allows Zeta to be even more powerful at a distance, and having a damage over time ability is also quite nice. Finally, Zeta also counts with a couple of buffs, with Signal Drive being this party-wide buff where she buffs the attack of the entire team by 25%. Overall, a very solid offensive buff, one of the better ones for sure, so being able to have this party-wide utility is pretty nice, although you should keep in mind that you can very easily hit the damage cap in this game, and so attack buffs like these end up becoming less relevant in the endgame. And finally, something that makes Zeta one of the most powerful characters in the entire game is the skill Vengeful Flames, where she buffs herself by adding supplementary damage, making it so that whenever she attacks, she will proc an extra instance of damage. And if you have the sigil that provides supplementary damage, these two will be able to stack on top of each other. So whenever you are spamming these infinite loops, and you are proccing multiple instances of damage each and every time, as you can see, the damage output is absolutely nuts, and it just keeps on racking up. So the idea here with Zeta is that you start off combat by applying Vengeful Flames, use Infinite Wonder to apply the debuff, and then Spear of Harvest to launch yourself into the air. You can also use Link attacks in the middle of it to launch yourself in the air, I forgot to mention that before. And you just keep on doing this until you see that the debuff is about to run out, like so let's go ahead and use that. Spear of Harvest is once again off cooldown, so we go ahead and use it to launch ourselves into the air a little bit faster, so we don't have to do our combo. And as you can see, we still have the supplementary debuff still active. It's finally about to run out, but we still go ahead and keep on doing this, again, until the debuff is about to run out, and the damage output is absolutely nuts. I mean, just look at what we're doing here. Go ahead and use our finisher. Once again, Spear of Harvest, launch ourselves into the air. And now that the timer is about to run out, we go ahead and close that off, doing over 20 million damage. Absolutely crazy results with this character. Now let me show you the gear that I am running on my endgame build for Zeta. As for your weapons, my very first recommendation is going to be the Stinger, as it provides you with critical hit rate as well as critical hit damage. And since you'll be hitting so many times with Zeta, especially with supplementary damage combined as well, this is going to be the best cheap option for your character. Of course, the Ascension weapon, if you max it out all the way, is going to be a better alternative, but that is going to consume a lot more resources. And finally, we have the Gaia Bulk, the Terminus weapon, which is going to be by far the best option, as even if you only have a level 1 Terminus weapon, that is going to outperform all of these other options. Not only does it come with outstanding stats, it also comes with Sigil Booster, which will raise the level of all of your equipped sigils by 1. Damage cap level 5 is going to be a nice bonus in letting you reach the max level of damage cap a little bit easier. And Catastrophe is just an insane trait to have on a weapon, as it will boost your attack by 50% and raise your damage cap by 100% as long as your max HP is at or below 45,000, which is always going to be the case. And finally, Regen level 15 is just a nice quality of life bonus. Now let's take a look at Zeta's sigils, because there are quite a few options here that I'd like to go over that can completely change your playstyle and make this character even more fun and broken. So starting off with Zeta's own Sigils, Crimson Flight is a very nice quality of life addition that makes it so that landing the perfect timing on her airborne attacks is going to be a little bit easier, as this sigil will extend the timing for you to actually press the button. This makes Zeta a whole lot easier to play, certainly easier than Siegfried, and because in some boss fights, being up in the air doing the aerial combos, you won't be able to see your character too well and what's happening, having the benefit of extending that timing window so that you can be consistent in landing those perfect hits is going to be very important. Of course, if you manage to consistently land that perfect timing without using this sigil, then you can go ahead and slot in something else to increase your damage or give you more survivability. But personally, I really do recommend getting this one if you can. Crimson Cloud is just a must-have on Zeta, which quite simply is going to strengthen the Arves Formare the Zeta debuff effect, increasing the damage you deal to enemies affected by that debuff by an extra 25%. So that is a very big deal. Do not miss out on this, as this will allow you to remove one extra offensive sigil because of this extra damage you'll be dealing, as you'll be hitting the damage cap sooner with this. And speaking of damage cap, as you can see right here, I have 4 different damage cap sigils, all of them maxed out, so that I can reach damage cap level 65, although thanks to my weapon, I didn't really need to have them all maxed out. And as you can see with this one, I also have improved dodge, which at max level will increase my dodge count from 3 to 7, and will also increase my iframes on the dodge, so that is very useful. This one comes with Drain, which will allow me to recover HP based on the damage that I deal to an enemy. This one comes with Regen, which will allow me to quite simply automatically heal over time, and combine this with my weapon, I'll have Regen at level 31. And this one comes with improved healing, so that is just going to boost the amount of healing that I get from all sources by 50%, so that is a very nice bonus. Of course, I also have War Elemental, one of the very best sigils in the entire game, as it will make it so that every enemy that you fight against is now going to be counted as being weak to your element, so you'll be dealing extra damage against them. Of course, if you are fighting against an enemy that is already weak to fire element, you can go ahead and remove this sigil, but it is a very nice bonus to have for sure. I also have 3 different supplementary damage sigils. Sadly, 2 of these only come with supplementary damage and nothing else, whereas this one also comes with improved healing, which is quite nice. So with supplementary damage at level 45, every single time that I attack an enemy, I will have a guaranteed chance to trigger supplementary damage, which will create an extra hit that will deal 25% of the original's damage. This is one of the very best ways for you to raise your damage without hitting the damage cap, so being able to max this out is going to be very important. Additionally, I also have one stamina 5 sigil, which comes with guts as well, and I have this crit rate sigil, which also comes with stamina. I like having crit rate, as I'll be able to boost my crit rate by 20%. Guts is a very nice quality of life skill to have, as it allows me to survive lethal damage with just 1 HP, and given that this is at level 16, it will have a 160 second cooldown. It's just nice insurance to have, even on characters like Zeta that will be able to dodge a lot of attacks by simply attacking, because she will be in the air for a very long time, a lot of attacks simply won't reach her, and you are also able to dodge in the air and resume your aerial loops without an issue. But even so, it's a nice trait to have, especially in the endgame. And my final sigil is going to be a Tyranny 5 sigil, which is going to reduce my maximum HP by 20% at all levels, and at level 16 it's going to boost my attack by 36%, whereas at max level it would raise my attack by 50%. That being said, I am able to reach the damage cap by playing like this, so with all of these sigils I will be able to reach the damage cap, but there are a couple more sigils that I want to talk about. Life on the Line is going to be a very good alternative for Tyranny if you are playing by yourself without any allies, as it's going to boost your attack power by the same amount as Tyranny, with the only downside being that allies won't be able to heal you. That being said, because you'll have more HP by removing Tyranny and putting this on instead, if you are someone that, like me, is using improved healing with Drain and Regen as well, and perhaps you even have Potion Hoarder like I have on this Life on the Line, this could be a more enticing option, as you'll have more ways to heal yourself, and you will also have 20% more max HP. And because Life on the Line gives you the same attack bonus as Tyranny, you'll be getting the same bonus without the downside of reducing your HP. Lastly, Glass Cannon can also be a very powerful trait to raise your damage output, as it's going to boost your attack by 30% and raise your damage cap by 30% as well, which is a huge bonus by just having a single sigil. That being said, the downside here is that if you are ever to get hit by pretty much anything, and that includes touching a pool of lava for example, you are going to be inflicted with dizzy, so you'll be vulnerable for a very long time, which can then lead to a monster hitting you and killing you, or taking away your guts, so you need to be very good with this character and know the fights very well to take full advantage of Glass Cannon, but it is a very powerful option, and so I feel like I should mention it here. This is my preferred setup with Zeta. As you can see, I'm using the Spear of Arves, Wing Clipper for the paralysis, Infinite Wonder and Vengeful Flames, and I choose to go with Life on the Line instead of Tyranny, because very often I don't run any healing skills on my party. With that being said, let's go ahead and take on a Proud difficulty quest, so I can properly showcase this build in action. We're gonna go ahead and hunt a Black Dragon. This should be a good enough practice to showcase just how powerful this build is. Let's start by, of course, dodging this big AoE. I want to try to break one of these right away, let's go. And I'm gonna throw it at the dragon right away. Now I'm gonna buff myself with Vengeful Flames, pop the Infinite Wonders, and let's start the aggression. Ooh, right there I get hit by the projectile. We do get a freeze here, so that's nice. And already a link time, let's go. The debuff is about to run out, so I go crashing down. Let's block that, totally fine. And I'm just trying to wait here to see if he leaves the pools. He did. So we go back to dealing damage. And just look at the amount of damage that I'm dealing with Zeta already. Gonna come crashing down, apply the debuff and also throw one of these orbs at him, just for good measure. Oh, he enters overdrive and cancels my gap closer, that's fine. We're able to still go up thanks to link time, or link attack I should say. And just look at that crazy amount of damage. Gonna block that just in case. Didn't quite connect with me, but we're still good. The thing about Zeta is that you need to... Oh, that might be bad. Nice. Because we were in the air, we were able to avoid that attack. That's something very cool about Zeta. You can dodge a lot of attacks by simply keep on attacking in the air. Like for example, Pieta also becomes a very easy monster to deal with. Ooh, right there I got hit by a big explosion. But we were fine, thanks to Guts. So that is good. Gonna wait for him to land. And let's go ahead and resume our attacks. I didn't expect that one to connect. Ooh, he goes into... Oh. Alright, now that he finished doing that, let's go ahead and go back to dealing damage. And he's doing it again. God damn it. I was able to avoid that, but I got hit by the slow. I need to be careful with that breath attack, because sometimes I accidentally target the face. And that has a delayed explosion that can end up killing you. The overdrive is about to finish. Let's go ahead and throw another orb. Gonna pop the Vengeful Flames, debuff him, and get right back into the action. I end up missing the timing, but that's fine. The team goes ahead and uses their SBA. Gonna go ahead and follow it up. He's already below 50% health. We've been doing quite well so far. Although I did get screwed by the camera a couple of times there. Nice, we go into link attack. Beautiful, you'll have to see it. And right here you can just keep on spamming the square button. You don't have to time it, much like with Siegfried. Whenever you are in link attack, it's free reign to deal as much damage as possible. I'm just gonna go down, so I pop the Vengeful Flames. And we go back to dealing as much damage as possible. And now that it's over, I have to actually time it. But as you can see, the Black Dragon is already about to die. Gotta go ahead and try to paralyze him. Sadly, he dodges that. That's fine. I think Katalina was also trying to freeze him. Gonna need to watch out for this big AoE. Oh, he's actually doing the Enrage. We need to kill him as fast as possible. I'm gonna throw an orb at him just to slow it down a little bit. But I think we have plenty of time here. We've been dealing quite a lot of damage. Just look at the damage we're doing. Zeta is absolutely crazy when it comes to dealing damage in this game. And I'm gonna pop the finisher and that should do it. There we go. As you are able to see, Zeta deals a ton of damage and she was able to dodge a lot of attacks by simply keeping up with the aggression. Now I do want you to pay attention here to that little animation she does to open up the chests. I like it a lot. Hopefully that was a good showcase of just how powerful Zeta can be. If you are enjoying this type of videos, let me know which character I should cover next. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Dark Hero and as always, happy hunting.